Now live in the BankPlus Studio, where college football meets the all lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is
the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds, streaming around the world live at the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
Where are you?
The Zone.
Man, what a day, what a show. Out of Bounds, I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Thanks for going to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and hitting the podcast. Search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We are 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Can also watch the show. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. And we're streaming live for you on thezone1059.com, thezone1059.com. Our Ben Nelson Golf and Outdoors caller line, 601-707-3750. Our Saints discussion around their schedule, the easiest schedule in the history of the NFL, and the quarterbacks and teams that they get to face is the NFC South is not any good, and the AFC South is worse. And that says a lot. I've never, ever, ever, I never can remember a team pulling this type of schedule like the Saints. Our Saints schedule discussion is brought to you by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge. Full bar and food. Great place to hang out. PGA Championship this weekend. You got the playoffs. LeBron and the Nuggets. And that's interesting. Has he got one more in him? You got the futures bets, college football, NFL, win totals. We've been going over those with Bar 2. You got the win totals for the Cowboys, Saints, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Bama, Florida, LSU. The Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge. Also, Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, dancingrabbitgolf.com. And don't forget that Mama M's is their new restaurant. It's got a whiskey, craft beer bar feel in the front, restaurant in the back. Highly recommend eating in the bar area. And then Philip M's has an awesome new chef the last year plus. He's doing a great job. Old Style Vegas Steakhouse, Philip M's, Dancing Rabbit Golf, Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, Mama M's. That's a good 24 to 48 hours. Plus, they've got comedians coming in, bands, all kinds of live entertainment at Pearl River Resort, pearlriverresort.com. And Mr. DX is giving me a hard time, I think, about my take on cruise ships.
Oh.
I've never been on a cruise. And Wendy doesn't want to go. So we like going somewhere. And I think cruise ships are great. More power to you. But we like to fly in somewhere and be somewhere. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm taking a cruise out of New Orleans or Miami or the Orlando port. I know we scratched around on one of those Disney ones that bounces down in the Bahamas several years ago, and that was 86th. I guess the one that I probably could do is maybe a European, bounce in and out of like Greece, Spain.
A little Mediterranean cruise?
I could do a Mediterranean, that I think, but I don't even know if I need to do that. So that's my deal. I get kind of freaked out being on a cruise ship.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
I get it. DX said on Twitter that the cabins you stay in on a cruise ship are smaller than your closet.
I'm sure you can upgrade for another $5,000 to $8,000, but I don't know if it's worth it or not. So you can weigh in on your best cruise experience or your worst cruise experience via the Ag Up Equipment John Deere Tractor text line, 601-885-3776. I got to let you know today that Mudbugs opens back up.
Yes, sir.
Crawfish all the way through the weekend and shrimp and all the wonderful things they do. Mudbugs, 2 locations in Rankin County. Pair your crawfish with a Michelob Ultra, a Stella Artois, or a Big Wave Golden Ale. Big Wave Golden Ale. Catch the liquid aloha out of Hawaii. Big Wave Golden Ale. And so Mudbugs is open today, and I think it's a good week to get. You only got a few more weeks, so it is a good week to get some crawfish.
It's always a good week to get crawfish.
I think so too.
Yeah. I don't think there's ever a bad time to eat crawfish.
Let's go with the Sean Payton audio again. This is pretty funny. We all got to get to know Sean Payton a little bit. From post-Katrina until, 2 years ago he stepped down with the New Orleans Saints. Most successful coach in their history, and they won a Super Bowl. Did you ever think you would say that in your lifetime? That the Saints would win a Lombardi trophy? You didn't. And yet they did, and could have won another one. Sean kind of threw away a year or two, but he was also unbelievable Hall of Fame coach. Now he's with the Denver Broncos. And one of the backups to Russell Wilson decided to throw a pick six in practice. This is what Sean Payton had to say.
It was right in front of Greg Penner. I told Ben, I said, he owns Walmart, and if it doesn't work out here, there's, I'm sure, a greeting opportunity somewhere, one of his local stores. So,
can you imagine
Incredible.
Sean Payton telling you that, knowing that you're not guaranteed a spot on the team? Hey, you could always be a Walmart greeter.
That's amazing. A Walmart greeter. That's brutal.
That guy doesn't care.
That's brutal. That's former, he's talking about Ben DiNucci, former Cowboys backup.
Oh, yeah.
The Nooch.
I remember him.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's who that was.
vaguely and briefly.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting. Sean's just one of those guys who, I guess, because he got his Super Bowl and because he's got that swag in him, I mean, that's the way he operates. Not all coaches do stuff like that. Like, he's obviously he's joking. He's having fun with him. He's not sending him to Walmart. But
yeah, Mike Tomlin doesn't joke
correct,
around.
yeah.
In fact, Mike Tomlin in press conferences is like mad as hell to be there, the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach for our listeners. And I like him. He doesn't do that. Sean will, sometimes he's upset. You get him after a game, they're on a losing streak, whatever. But Sean will mix it up a little bit. Who else will? Sean McVay?
Even Andy Reid's a little bit funnier than you think he is.
He is.
He's a little more like, once you start actually like getting into it, you're like, oh, he interacts with his players. Like, he's got some comedy to him. I think Mike McDaniel's definitely like that. McDaniel's he was talking trash to Tua in the game about Alabama, Georgia, which is hilarious.
So Mike McDaniel is the young hotshot coach for the Miami Dolphins, and probably almost too smart for his own good.
Yeah, probably someone who should be an engineer or like high level somebody in some business.
NASA.
Yeah, absolutely. Something like that. Yeah. Not coaching football.
And he is with a media that is very laid back.
True.
I don't think people understand the difference between the South Beach Miami media and the Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, Patriots, Steelers, all the Rust Belt Northeast, and how they. So for sports talk radio every morning, Philadelphia yells into the microphone. New York. I mean, Washington's passionate.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. They don't play games over there.
You know, the Jets haven't won since whenever Namath won it in 67 or 8.
Mm-hmm. Chicago, another passionate fan
Bears.
base. Yeah,
They haven't
absolutely.
scored any touchdowns in 40 years.
Yeah. Yep. But Miami is very San Diego, LA, West Coast style.
No doubt. Detroit, hardcore.
Yeah, hardcore.
Cleveland.
You have to be a Cleveland Browns fan and Detroit Lions fan. Yeah.
You told me that it's 34 degrees for the PGA Championship this week.
Yeah, they're up in New York. 34 degrees. I would not be playing. It's too cold.
Phil Mickelson looks like he runs the cartel. Our PGA Championship weather update was brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road and Ben Nelson Golf and Outdoors. Back in a second. Don't forget that Bulldog Burger has Stella Artois, which is excellent with a burger or a sandwich. Or for Blake, the spring rolls. And don't forget that Blake will tell you that he is a culinary legend here in the state of Mississippi as he helped open Bulldog Burger in Starkville and Sombra in the township.
That's right. That's right. The irony of working at Sombra is that I was told by the restaurant I was currently working at that I wasn't good enough to be a waiter or a bartender or a manager. And then, I went on to do all those things at other restaurants that were pretty successful. So
yeah,
it's kind of funny. I'm not saying I'm like Michael Jordan getting cut from his high school team, but the similarities are there.
I think you're hitting on something. I really do.
Where's my shoe deal?
Speaking of, watch the movie Air on Amazon Prime on Jordan. It's and his family. It's so good. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, among others. Jason Bateman is hilarious. Chris Tucker is so good. It is. It's a great cast. Ben Affleck is the director, excuse me. And Ben Affleck is Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, and Matt Damon's Sonny Vaccaro, the legendary shoe wizard who worked for everybody. And I don't blame him. I mean, whatever. But it's good. Why? If you just love sports stories, sports marketing, and business, but it totally changed the game as far as sports marketing for athletes to get a piece of the pie, because basically the Jordan family asked for revenue off the shoe, and now Jordan makes $400 million a year. He's a billionaire. Woo. But his mom was amazing, Dolores Jordan. His dad too, but it's good. Matt Damon plays Sonny Vaccaro. We've had him on the show. Who hooked me up with him? Jerry Tarkanian? I think I asked Tark the Shark. This was years ago when, obviously, prior to Tark the Shark passing away. But when we were having Tark, when I read the book on Tark and I finally found him in Las Vegas, and he would come on the show, I think that led me to Sonny Vaccaro, which for me was like, I was a hoops kid growing up in the 80s. I loved college, and I loved the NBA. I mean, whether it was Isaiah coming out of 81 with the Hoosiers winning it, and then Alex English, Adrian Dantley, Jeff Malone, of course, the bigger names, Bird, Magic. Barkley, probably my favorite of all time. But that was just a great time in hoops. Mm-hmm. And Sonny Vaccaro ended up getting Nike in the game. They had no business landing him. And Converse and Adidas took an arrogant approach and missed. And Michael did not want to do it. But Dolores Jordan could see where it could lead. I'm not saying that she knew he was going to be making $400 million a year today. But again, it comes down to having two parents or one parent that's super heavily involved. Michael Jordan had two that were awesome, and that led him to some good decisions, Blake. And that was a paradigm shift.
But that only works with a company who's still trying to build their brand, right? Like if you go to Nike today, you're not getting that deal.
No.
Even if Jordan theoretically didn't exist, right? Even if that deal had not already
and I'm not saying that Steph Curry doesn't have some kind of amazing deal.
It's not the same though. I mean, that's a luxury deal because you bought in when it was nothing.
And it's also not the same because LeBron and Steph and even Kobe still never even came close, have never come close to what the Jordan brand does.
I mean, it's a little Apple-esque because he bought into a company that didn't have the resume to land that and to do that. And so he said,
I don't know how many millions of shares Jordan owns, but
his net worth, according to Forbes, is $2 billion.
Okay.
I think there's probably a lot of money coming in and a lot of money going out too. So
yeah,
but I think $2 billion will do him well.
And knowing that you're going to make $400 million a year, because I think he exited out of the Hornets. I mean the Bobcats
ownership. Yeah,
And so that was another chunk that he made. I mean, yeah, the guy's not worried about it. I mean, if you're making $30+ million a month just on the Jordan brand, not counting everything else, you're good.
I don't know if I could even like trying to spend as much as I can. It'd be very hard to spend $30 million a month.
He's got a big jet that he can sleep and shower on.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it's got a bedroom, so he's good. Probably a chef, because when he goes from Charlotte to the Bahamas to the place right by Atlantis that he has a house in the golf course, he can get there in about an hour and a half. That's a good deal. Watch it this weekend on Amazon Prime. Air, The Story of Greatness. What about Scott Berry? Southern Miss head coach just retires. Now, I think he'll still help Southern Miss raise money. Why not? But he's really on top of his game.
It's kind of out of nowhere, isn't it? Is he being pushed out?
No.
You sure?
No.
Christian Ostrander? They were afraid to lose him, so they moved Barry to hire Ostrander?
No. I think that they knew that. No, they're not. He's not pushed. They get along. It's all good. But, I guess it had to be done, or maybe Ostrander does leave.
Yeah. You can only turn down that kind of money so many times.
Yeah.
Right.
And was Chris Lemonis hot on the trail of Christian Ostrander, the pitching coach, now believed to be the next head coach for the Southern Miss Golden Eagles?
That was my thought.
Look at these numbers. Golly.
That was my thought, was that this was maybe Barry was thinking I'll do one more season, and Southern Miss came to him and said, hey, if you do another season, you're losing Christian Ostrander.
Yeah.
And he said, I'd rather have Southern Miss have Ostrander than me coach one more year. I don't know. It just seems kind of abrupt. Like Scott Barry feels like, not that he would want this, but he's kind of like a guy you wish had like announced this early in the year so that you could like celebrate him the whole season. But I know that's not his MO. That's not how he's wired. He's a blue collar guy. He's a lunch pail guy. Isn't that what we like in sports?
We do.
Lunch pail guy.
We do.
And he's goofy because he always wore the helmet, which I always thought, even younger, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, but it was hilarious.
Yes. He was going to wear it, not just in the coach's box.
All the time.
He's one of the few head coaches that coaches the best. That used to always happen. Mm-hmm. And then guys realized, I'll be in the dugout. I'm good.
I can let an assistant coach third base.
Yeah, and Tim Corbin coaches third base for Vanderbilt.
Still does, yeah.
And Scott Berry coaches third base. Mm-hmm. And Van Horn, right?
I think
coaches
that's right.
third base.
I think that's right.
Well, those are some big names.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lemonis and Bianco do not.
Most do not.
Butch Thompson does not. Jay Johnson at LSU does not. Trying to go right. Kevin O'Sullivan. Sully.
Vitello doesn't. Yeah.
No.
Schlossnagle doesn't. Where does Scott Berry rank in your kind of Mississippi baseball coach hierarchy? He's had an incredible career. And success cannot be determined by championships in baseball, I think, more than anything.
He's had an incredible... He's right up there with Bianco, Polk. As far as longevity.
I think that's... Yeah, and winning over time. The guy won.
Obviously, Mike Kennison.
Of course.
Some people still
Maybe
believe
the best of all
he's
time.
the best.
Yeah.
But Kennison, Polk, Bianco.
And Scott Berry. Yeah.
Of course, Hill Denson got the whole thing going. You got to kind of... Corky took him to the CWF. There's a lot going on down there with Southern Miss baseball.
Yeah.
John Cohen's up there.
Still a chance to go to
John
Omaha.
will never have the longevity.
No, he could. He didn't have to leave.
No, but he rebuilt the program and modernized it. And Lemonis is going to have to channel his inner Cohen. He is. Steve Robertson coming up next on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line.